What's going on, guys? I'm Tommy and I'm coming at you with an action figure review. Today I'm going to be reviewing Hasbro The Black Series Gaming Greats Phase 1 Assault Trooper Coruscant Guard and Battle Droid Officer Training from Battlefront 2 2017. This mouthful of a name for a multi-pack is one that I'm super excited about. Battlefront 2 is probably one of my most favorite video games of all time. I think I could safely say that it is my favorite Star Wars video game of all time. I have so many memories over the last, I want to say 9 or so years that this has been out, and that is crazy to think that game is almost 10 years old now. I have so many memories with so many different friends playing this game for hours and hours and hours, and it's really cool to see any kind of merch related to it, especially this long after the game's release. I picked this up through a pre-order on Amazon because this was an Amazon exclusive when it released here in the US, so I'm really excited to cover it for you today. The packaging is the standard style of packaging for 2-packs in the Black Series right now. Up at the top on the front of the box, we have the Black Series logo. We have a big plastic window showing you both the figures and their accessories. On the window here, we have a reflective Gaming Greats sticker that is cool for this subline, and then on top of that here in vertical text, we have the character names. Down below the window, we have a banner in the color of the Gaming Greats subline with the name of the game, as well as some logos down at the bottom there. On this side of the box, we have some mural art, and that is art of both of the characters here, and you can see that it's kind of like the character appearance screen, so when you go to customize your appearance for your character, this is the background that they have. It's like that Venator Death Star style background. Interesting detail here, and I definitely want to point this out. We'll talk about it when we check out the figures too. The Battle Droid Officer has the wrong blaster. In the game, the Battle Droid Officer cannot use the standard E5. That's a bummer. We'll talk more about that later. On the back of the box, we have some of the stuff we've already seen, like our Black Series logo in the middle, character names, and then that is flanked by the character mural arts we saw on the side of the box, blown up a bit. You can see a little bit more of them as well. And then we have a bio in about 1,000 different languages. This bio reads, "The Coruscant Guard was a division of elite shock troopers once assigned to protect the Galactic Republic's capital under the guidance of Commander Fox. Featuring yellow markings to differentiate them from their fellow droids, Commander rank training droids led simulated battle scenarios against clone cadets." Maybe the reference to Commander Fox on the box will get us a Phase 1 Commander Fox. That would be a cool figure to get. Down here by the Battle Droids mural art, we have the Battlefront 2 logo for the 2017 version, and then underneath that we have the Battlefront 2 again on that wraparound banner. Down below that, all of our legalese. Guys, please don't feed these action figures to your babies. On this side of the box, we have our Gaming Greats logo, our wraparound window, the wraparound banner, and the Black Series logo once again. And then on the bottom of the box, we have even more legalese, and on the top, nothing. That about wraps it up for the packaging here. So let's get this set opened and we'll check it out. Alright guys, here are both the figures out of the box. Before we take a look at them, of course, let's check out their accessories. So for the Clone Trooper, with all the 2023 Clone Troopers, they are doing removable helmets right now. I would personally prefer swappable heads, but in the case of the Phase 1 look, I am okay with the removable helmet option, as they do still look good with the removable helmets. As far as the paint apps go here, these are the markings for the Phase 1 Coruscant Guard look. This look originated from the Clone Wars movie back in 2008, so that's a really cool design to see. This is the Phase 1 Clone Trooper sculpt that we are used to with newer Phase 1 clones. However, like I said again, you have some red markings up here. Those go all the way to the back of the helmet. They did paint the black brow, thankfully. They don't always do that. That black brow goes all the way to the back once again, like this lighter gray back here. We have these tick marks down here on the sides of the helmet at the bottom, and then on the front we have a nice glossy black for the visor. We have some nice black and red for the frown on the helmet, and then down by the chin filter here we have another red marking and black on the chin filter itself. A very nice accessory. Of course, it is hollow, so you can put it on the trooper's head. And then as far as the trooper himself goes, he does come with a weapon that he does use in the game. So the assault class in Battlefront 2, as far as the clone troopers go, their default blaster is called the DC-15A, or also known as the DC-15S in the Star Wars canon. So this is the same blaster we've seen so many times in the Black Series now. It's just done on a dark gray, almost like gunmetal colored sculpt here. Nice sculpted detail that we're used to. No painted detail, no weathering detail on it whatsoever. It's another accessory that we're very used to. In addition to the DC-15S, we also get the DC-15 rifle. Now, this is something that this character cannot use in the game, but in the case of a clone trooper, I think that it's great that they still include it. This is cast in the same color as that DC-15S, and again, we've seen this accessory plenty of times in the Black Series, so you should be used to all the sculpted detail of it. It looks accurate to what we see in the media, and I have nothing else to add to that because we've seen this so many times before. As for our battle droid officer, he does have these attachable antenna here. This is accurate to the officer-specific looks. The officer looks have the smaller, more mobile-looking antenna, as opposed to the big backpack that a lot of your assault-class battle droids wear in the game. The base of this is done in a white sculpt, and then the antennas themselves are done in an orange sculpt with white painted at the top here. These do not go down into the antenna because they have nowhere to go. But overall, we've seen this a few times as well. We've seen battle droids in the Black Series before, so this is still a nice inclusion. And then finally, we have our E5 blaster rifle. This is the standard issue weapon for most B1 battle droids in Star Wars. However, my issue with this is that this is not the blaster that this droid uses in the game. That blaster pistol is called the RG-4D, and it's a very separatist looking blaster. It's something you would expect the droids to use. I am bummed that they did not tool that new blaster for this set, considering it would have been the only new tooling for this release. I think it would have been awesome if they had the accurate blaster, but, you know, unfortunately, we are just left with the E5. It is done in the same color of plastic that the two DC-15 blasters are. And aside from that, it's got nice sculpted detail, but no paint or weathering on it whatsoever. So let's take a look at our two characters here. Let's of course set our battle droid off to the side. We'll take a look at our clone trooper first here. So this is the clone trooper that we are used to in the Black Series. You've probably seen these plenty of times, and you've probably seen my reviews of these plenty of times as well. I have done reviews on several clone troopers on this newest sculpt. So taking a look here, we have just a nice young Tamara Morrison likeness here. This looks fine. The face sculpt looks nice. The paint for the eyes, the eyebrows, and the lips look good as well. He does seem to have a little bit of paint. Oh, I guess it's not. It's just maybe a little paint chip was left on the face, but we were able to just scrape that off with a fingernail. And then, of course, the hair is painted in black as well. Just the standard Clone Wars style haircut for our clone troopers. No complaints here. This is something that we're used to, and if they're going to go with the removable helmet option going forward instead of swappable heads, I think they're doing a good job on the Tamara Morrison faces. Now, as far as the clone trooper armor itself goes, much like the helmet, the only difference between this and a standard Phase 1 clone trooper are the unit-specific markings. So the unit-specific markings, which, by the way, I believe are all accurate. In comparing this to the model from the game as well as the animated Clone Wars look, I think they did a good job of making this look accurate. At the shoulder armor here, which are done on an O-ring system, which means that that's connected into the torso away from the arm, you can see that there is a red painted ring around the armor pieces here, and that is a unit-specific marking. We also have an overlay for the carapace here. That is one piece that connects the chest and back armor. You can see the black tick marks here on the right side of the chest are painted, and we have the really nice unit-specific markings that go along the torso here. You can see that nice shape on the front for the Coruscant Guard, and that goes all the way around to the back of the carapace there. That looks great. Speaking of the unit-specific markings, again, we have some on the elbow armor here. These are, again, accurate to what we see in the game and in the movie. This one looks a little bit off-centered here. You can see that it kind of doesn't go all the way into the inside of the elbow, whereas this one does. And all the sculpted detail and painted detail looks great. He does, of course, have the comm links sculpted into his right gauntlet here, and then you can also see that both of his hands are sculpted in trigger finger hands. That is a great feature of the newest clone trooper. The elbow armor, I should add, is also done with a little bit of an overlay, I guess. So the strap of the elbow armor does go over the hinge joint of the elbow, but it doesn't hinder that articulation at all. I'll show that more when we cover the articulation. As far as the abdomen piece goes, you can see that that red paint app goes all the way up, so if you kind of arch his back a little bit, you can see that you won't have a gap there in that red stripe. That's great. Good job on that. And then as far as the belt goes, that is a loose overlay as well. The only difference between this and the regular clone trooper are the red ammo boxes on the front and a couple on the side being red as well. Down at the legs here, we have just plain white thigh armor. We have some unit specific markings on the knee armor, which is its own loose overlay as well. These are completely disconnected. They're not glued anywhere, so you can actually move them however you like when you bend the knee, which keeps it accurate as opposed to them being glued to one side or the other. And then for the lower leg armor, we have even more red paint on those lower legs that travels down to the ankles here, and there is a red ring that goes all the way around the tops of the calves there. And then of course you have his clone trooper boots, which have a nice dark tan paint application for the soles. And again, this is something we're used to. We've seen plenty of clone troopers, but I want every clone trooper look that has ever existed in Star Wars, and Battlefront 2 is a great way to get us a lot closer to that. Overall, this is a great looking figure. They did a great job on the unit specific markings, and I'm really happy with this one. So talking articulation on our clone trooper here, if you have a 2023 sculpt clone trooper, then you'll know what you're getting into. We have a dumbbell joint at the top of the neck, so one ball joint goes into the top of the neck, one goes into the head, an additional ball joint at the base of the neck, and you can see you can get plenty of range out of that. You can make our clone trooper look down a decent amount. You can also look up a fair amount as well. You can get some good tilt side to side, as well as some right and some left. As far as the shoulders go, we have some butterfly joints that are hidden inside the torso. You can see you can get some nice range forward and back out of those. All the overlays move themselves out of the way nicely. We also have a hinge and swivel at the shoulders, so the hinge is going to get you well past that 90-degree mark. That's a lot better than most Black Series figures, which can only usually get to 90 degrees. And then we have a swivel, which gets you a full 360 degrees. And if you're going that full range of motion, I'd recommend keeping that shoulder armor with the shoulder, because while you can move it separately, it just might risk, stressing or ripping that thin plastic while we move it around. We do have a bicep swivel on this figure, so that's some great added range here, especially for blaster holding poses. Out the elbows, we have another hinge and swivel, so that hinge, as you can see, can get you a little past that 90-degree mark, and you can see that that band at the elbow armor does not limit that articulation for you. We also have a swivel at the top of the elbow, and then at the wrists we have hinge and swivels. So at the right wrist we have a swivel with a vertical hinge, and at the left wrist we have a swivel with a horizontal hinge. There's a ball joint in the torso about midway through, and that gives you some great added range as well. And then of course we have ball joints at the hips, which have some great added range. Now the clone trooper thigh armor is made in a way that you can't bring the legs forward very much. Thankfully, they very cleverly included a cut for a thigh swivel, so you can bring those legs all the way up and out. So that's great that they include that, because in the movies the CG models do actually clip into themselves a lot. At the knees we have that hinge and swivel, so once again, like I showed earlier, that knee armor can be moved around freely, and you can get a little bit more than 90 degrees, which is great for the Black Series. And then we have a swivel at the top of the knee as well. And then at the ankles we have the Hasbro Classic, our forward facing pin for rocker, as well as a hinge which gets you a little bit of forward and gets you plenty of back. This is a great articulation scheme on these guys. It's one of my favorites in the Black Series line. These guys are very poseable, and I'm really happy with this one. As for our battle droid here, this is again another completely reused figure. We've seen battle droids in the Black Series plenty of times, almost as much as we've seen the clone troopers, and you don't expect anything new on this figure as far as the sculpt goes. As far as the paint apps though, that's where it's going to be a little bit different. So the training battle droids have these unique markings on them to make them much more visible to the clone cadets while they're going through their simulations on Kamino. The officer variant is a completely original design from Battlefront 2, as opposed to the assault variant, which is an in-universe design in the Clone Wars show. We have a white target that's been painted between the photoreceptors here, and you can see the photoreceptors are painted in white as well. Everything looks good here, nothing looks off-centered, so that's good. And you can see that this is done in like a pale orange color for all of these pieces for the neck and the head. As far as the chest goes, we have an additional, looks like a paint app for an orange target in the center of the chest, and that means that the shoulders are painted in that orange color as well. We have some white circles that are printed on for the shoulder pieces here, and then we have some orange targets that are printed on at the elbow joints here. And then the rest of the arms are just done in the white color with just the basic machinery sculpting. Once again, something we're very used to at this point in the Black Series. As for the lower torso, we have more white sculpting here with all the different machinery, things like that. And then we have orange paint at the lower part of the abdomen. We have at the hips even more rings at the hips here in white. I believe these are supposed to be targets, but they look more like the Target store logo than they do an actual training target, don't they? At the left thigh here, we do have a little bit of paint bleed, so that is actually pretty annoying. annoying, but you know what, I'll chalk that up to this droid has seen the simulations a couple times before. But other than that, it's got all the accurate sculpting to what we'd expect from a in-universe live-action look for the B1s. We do have a little bit more orange paint down here by the tops of the knees, and then we have a lot more orange paint at the calves as well. And then as far as the feet, we just have some orange paint at the toes here, and that does transfer over to the bottom of the feet as well. So overall, this is a look that I'm happy about. I'm just bummed that it doesn't have the correct accessory for what he uses in-game. As far as the battle droid goes for articulation, it's going to be a little bit complex. We'll try and work through this as best as possible. So we do have a ball joint that goes into the head of the droid here. You can see you can move that all any which way. There's also a hinge on the back of the droid's head that does assist in the articulation, so that's really nice. The droid's head usually sits like this, so you can technically make him look down. You can also make him look up, straight up here, and some of this articulation may look funny with the full range, but this kind of plays into the fact that these guys can actually fold up like you see them do in episode 1, The Phantom Menace. I'll show that off later in the review. And of course, you can get some good tilt for some attitude here. You can of course get right and left with that ball joint motion. We do have a hinge at the base of the neck, so with that hinge, you can bring that forward, and once again, as you can see, this kind of plays into the transforming effect the droid has. And then we can bring the neck back as well, almost a full 90 degrees there, and that assists as well with helping him look up if you want to. There's also a feature where this can extend, and that kind of locks into place. That's meant to, again, help us with that folding feature. And if you want, you could also use this as a swivel for that neck piece as well. At the shoulders, we have a hinge and swivel. So the swivel has a piece, and this little like rotator cuff moves independently of all that. And then of course we have our hinge, which gets you to about 90 degrees, but I bet if you swivel that up right there, you can get just ever so slightly more, a little bit closer to that 90-degree mark, which is great. The droids do feature a bicep swivel. That's a nice piece of articulation there. And then we have a single joint at the elbow. That gets you a pretty great range, well past the 90-degree mark going forward. And this is a double jointed hinge, so it can also bend back just as much. So that's a great added piece of articulation. We have a couple swivels at the forearms, one at the bottom of the elbow, and then an additional one here at the wrist. And then the wrists obviously have an additional swivel, and both of the wrists on the battle droid have a horizontal hinge. I'm having a hard time. These ones are pretty locked into place, but when you move them around, they will kind of break free. You can get good range out of those. At the torso, we have another ball joint, although it is limited here, so you can get some decent range out of it, a little bit of crunch, a little bit of back. Not really any tilt, but you can actually twist it side to side. And what's really cool is there's some clever engineering here on these tubes on the side. These kind of keep in place and they move with the torso as you turn it back and forth. So that's a pretty clever piece of articulation, especially with this being an older figure to today's standards. We also have swivels at the hips, and those can get you forward plenty. They can also get you back plenty, once again to help with that transforming feature. We have hinges at the knees, so the hinge at the knee gets you plenty of range. Once again, the lower leg is actually sculpted with a groove in there so that you can really fold this droid's legs up so that you can have them unfold like they do in the movies. This hinge is also double jointed, so you can actually hyperextend it a little bit forward, which is nice. And then down at the ankles, we have these little swivels kind of towards the top of the ankle here. And then at the lower part of the ankle, we have a hinge, so you can see you can actually bring that forward a decent amount and back a decent amount as well. So overall, the battle droids have a surprisingly good amount of articulation for how thin and spindly they are. And for these guys only really being created in CGI, I think Hasbro did a pretty good job. There is no really good way to create a character like this in action figure form. All right, let's get these guys kitted out with their accessories now. So we'll start off with the clone trooper. Obviously, we're gonna have him helmet on the shelf. So all you gotta do is just slip that helmet on, and it stays on with friction. It's not gonna fall off when you're shaking him around. I will say with these Phase 1 helmets, what's nice is you can kind of lift that helmet up a little bit without revealing the chin of the figure, and it gives him a lot more of a gap between the helmet and the carapace, so you have a lot more room when you're articulating the figure. Gives you a lot of the same motion with the helmet off. And as I mentioned before, these guys look great with the removable helmets and the Phase 1 look. It's more the Phase 2 look I have a problem with the removable helmets. Now, as far as his blasters go, of course, he can hold the long rifle in his hand. We're just going to make him right-handed, because most clone troopers are, and then, of course, that passes the shake test. And, of course, you can get a two-handed blaster holding pose with this trooper as well. As for the carbine, you can get that into one hand very easily as well. Sits very nicely, finger sits on the trigger guard well, and then you can also get that in a two-handed pose. As for the battle droid, let's get his antennas attached. So these actually attach to the left side of the torso, and you want them so that the antenna kind of taper down to the side. And then of course, we'll put his blaster in hand, the one that he doesn't use in game. So you can sit that in the right hand pretty nicely. Once again, fingers fit into the trigger guard nicely, and that passes the shake test. Here we have just some basic poses for these guys, nothing too fancy. Now the battle droid I almost forgot to show, and I guess this counts as a pose, right? You can actually bring the legs completely up. This is how you fold him up here. You bring the ankles forward. This one is a little bit stuck, but we got it there. And then you just kind of bring the arms forward and make them hug himself. The blaster actually does have weapon storage on the full backpack, but not on the smaller one here for the command battle droid. You bring this down, and then there we have our folded up battle droid look. And here we have both our characters in a one-legged running pose, running into the battlefront, maybe to take over a capture point or complete an objective. But with that, guys, that's gonna wrap it up for this review. I think this is a great 2-pack. I want to see more stuff like this. However, I think it's imperative that we get accurate blasters for the characters. At the very least, give them a customization option blaster, which may not be, you know, in universe to their faction, correct? But give them one that they actually use in game. They could have gone with several that exist in the Black Series line already. I know the blaster that Kanan comes with is one, I believe it's like the DL-17 or something like that. That one is one that the droids can use in the game. The First Order blaster pistol, the SD-44C, they could have used that. They also could have used the S5 that came with the Padme Amidala from a couple years ago, and there's just other options. At least give me something that the droid uses in game, and, you know, maybe just include the E5 as an extra. But with that, guys, I hope you enjoyed this review. If you did and you're not yet subscribed, subscribe to Blitz Transmissions. I've got awesome Star Wars content coming out all the time. If you're an ARC Trooper in my Patreon, you would have seen this review early. If you'd like access to early content, monthly giveaways, and other awesome benefits, the link to my Patreon is in the description below. Become an ARC Trooper for just $4.99 a month. If you're a fan of the reviews I do here on YouTube, or you want to support the YouTube channel more directly, you could also check out my YouTube channel membership, Rancor Battalion. For just 99 cents a month, it gives you access to exclusive badges, priority replies in my comment section, you get to vote on what I review next for the channel, just like the Patreon members do, and you get to check out all my reviews early here on YouTube. If you'd like some Blitz Transmissions swag, you could always head over to the Blitz Transmissions Armory over on Printify. Link to that is in the description below, as well as links to my Discord and all my social media. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this review. I'll catch you for the next one, and may the Force be with you.
Breaking off all units, fire at will. 1-2, pick your targets. Too many, Captain. Watch your stabilizer, Gold 6. Anybody cover me. I got 2 vultures on my tail. Gotta hold them here. Watch your left. I can't shake them. I'm hit. Where's